Now, it's fair to say I talk a big game when it comes to Paraguay. There's heaps that I love about it, but if anyone was to ask me, is there something about this place that bothers me, scares me, keeps me up at night? Well, there actually is. It's called the Paraguayan roundabout. Let me show you why. Now, initially, when I first got to Paraguay and hopped behind the wheel, I thought it was just me. Every time I came up to a roundabout, there seemed to be something that I just wasn't getting. But just in recent days, I've been out driving with a friend, and we came up to this roundabout, and what I found was that I'm by far not the only one that thinks that there's something just not quite right. And just to give a bit of context, I don't know how things roll where you are, but in the places I've previously lived, when you get into a roundabout, the vehicle that's entered the roundabout has the right of way, so anyone coming onto it needs to stop. So if, in this case, you're going around and another vehicle tries to enter, they can't. They've got to let you go. Not so with the Paraguayan roundabout. From what I can understand and what I've been told by qualified people in the industry, the rule is that when you get into the roundabout, you've got to enter and go into the innermost lane. So if that's not interesting enough, as you're turning, there's other vehicles that are trying to come in. And at least in my experiences, there's been no consensus about how that's meant to be navigated. So if I come around the roundabout and I'm wanting to get off at a certain exit, I'm in the innermost lane, the only course of action available to me is to cut across the lane where people will be coming in. I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, because it's a very hard thing to even understand, let alone comprehend, but let me show you. So I'm on the innermost lane now, and I'm going to go right around in the hope that I can get back off into the carriageway that I've just entered the roundabout. So as I come around, on my right, I'm looking to see if there's any cars snaking around on that side, because even though they're not meant to be, they can. But see this entry point here? If someone comes on there, which someone has just now, I've got to cut across that lane and come into this lane. And what you see, not infrequently, is that cars just stop midway in the intersection, get cut off, or all sorts of different variations. And it's truly, and honestly, it's quite scary at times, because there are so many different combinations of things that can kind of go wrong. So I'll just give it another pass just to make it clear as to what I'm banging on about. And it is one of those things, until you really experience some of the weird and wonderful ways this thing can go wrong, you don't probably fully appreciate what I'm sort of talking about here. But this roundabout isn't particularly busy today, so I'll go into the inner lane. Now let's say I'm wanting to just get off at the first exit. Now if there's a car next to me, I've got to make sure that I know it's coming up next to me. But check this out. As I get off, I've got to come across that lane and into this lane. And thankfully, both of these times there's been no cars coming on my right. But it's very common that you will have cars on your right, and that's kind of scary. What do you do? My friend the other day just simply kept going around the roundabout, and so we did a few loops, and eventually there was a clear point to sort of cut across, and everything worked out all right. No one was hurt in the experiment, but I just think it's something very interesting. And to be honest, if you're driving on the road in Paraguay, it's definitely the thing that you need to look out for, because the roundabouts have started to pop up. I love a roundabout. I think they're a gift to humanity when they're done properly. But look at this car in front of me now. As he goes around, cuts across that. Now, if anyone had just come from that intersection there, from that entry point, and he had missed them, he would have cut straight across, and it could have ended in tears. And that's what you see all the time. I'm just going to do a bit of a loop and see if I can get a bit more traffic action, just to show you a little bit more of what I'm talking about. This roundabout's very quiet today. It's always the way, isn't it? When you're wanting drama, there's no drama to be seen. On the weekend, we were whizzing around and there was cars going everywhere. Now check this car coming in here. He will cut across, goes on the innermost lane, and if I was on the outside of him now, check it out, he's just going to cut across there. Kaboomba! If someone had just come into that first entry point there, he just would have cut straight across, and it just could have been pancake for that, particularly if it was a bike rider. So just something for young players to keep an eye out for. Something, when you come to a new country and you see something familiar like a roundabout, you just assume, oh, I know how these work. But somewhere along the way, the translation was lost. There was a car just behind me there. He's cut across. And somewhere along the way, the rules about how a roundabout's supposed to operate seem to have got lost. And so you see all sorts of scary examples. There's another roundabout up here. I'll go check it out. Might as well go for a bit of a blat. And it's a warm day today. Just changed the oil in the bike. Thought I'd take it out for a spin. Just a little 150cc Chinese jobby. Nothing too flash. But man, it keeps the price of fuel costs down. We whiz around on this for most things, you know, if I'm going to the supermarket or whatever. I wear the helmet almost all the time. I must confess, occasionally I will whiz somewhere. I know that's naughty, but only short trips. I know that's when it's usually the time when something goes wrong, but as I understand, as you get closer to Asuncion, the rules get a bit more stringently enforced. A lot of people very seldom wear helmets. They often ride on the wrong side of the road, because what you'll see is, not infrequently, you'll be going along the freeway like this and someone wants to go the other way, but they can't be bothered going on the other side of the road. So this is mainly on bikes. They'll ride up the service lane there. You see different little variations of what you'd consider to be the right way to do things. We call it flexibility in Paraguay. In other parts of the world, they may call it a grave traffic offence. But that's the way things roll. Thankfully, I haven't seen too many terrible accidents, although they do happen. Especially with these trucks going downhill. They have a tendency to burn out their brakes, and there's been some really horrible accidents where bikes have been taken out at the bottom of a hill. They might have been stationary. There was a car that was run over a few months ago. It was horrible because the truck couldn't stop. So you do have to be careful. But thankfully, the roads are just getting better and better here. There's a new bitumen plant that's been built not far from here, and there's a lot of roads that are slated for being resealed or sealed at all, because a lot of them are, well, not a lot of them, but quite a number of them are either cobble or dirt. So the roads are getting better all the time in Paraguay, and this main route here, well, you can see for yourself, it's in really good nick. So things are on the improve. You've just got to be careful. But that's the reason for this video, is just to talk about anything like an innovation like a roundabout. You've got to appreciate that, you know, these things are relatively new to Paraguay, and, you know, there's some pretty relaxed ways that people get their licenses here. So the way to navigate a roundabout is still something that the country's kind of working out a lot of the time. So you've got to be really on your guard. And it's a real game of Chinese checkers trying to work out how it all works when you get onto a roundabout here sometimes. This is a very major roundabout. Sees a lot of traffic. Got a truck right up my arse. He just came onto the roundabout then and I'll guarantee you he'll cut straight across there. You won't see it because he's behind me. So see that car there? It comes straight into the inside lane, and then he cuts straight across the other lane and goes to the outside lane. And if anything, now let's just see, I'm trying to get across the outside lane here. I've got to make sure those cars coming in don't just come across and sideswipe me, which they didn't. They slowed down, which was nice of them, but not always. So if you just, for a moment, take your eyes off it and you cut across there, and you're not looking over to your right, you just come across the traffic and it can just catch you out so bloody easily. It's crazy. Another thing is, you'll notice everyone drives with their lights on. That's the law. And I tell you what, that's something that the traffic cops will get you for. Even if one of your lights is dull at the road stops. That's one of the main sources of revenue for the traffic police, so keep the lights on. When I first got here, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous, but I've actually come to realise it's actually kind of good, because it does give you a bit more forward notice of cars coming, and you need all the help you can get in Paraguay when it comes to cars whizzing along, because another thing is they go at so many different speeds. The speed limit here is loosely adhered to, so cars can be coming behind you at 20 kilometres an hour or 120. So every chance you can get. Now, I'm in the roundabout here, a car's just come in behind me, and I've got to watch him. He hasn't come out, and yeah, the whole time you've got to watch your ass to make sure that they haven't crept up on your right. 110 kilometre speed limit. I don't give that a tickle on this little egg beater. But man, some of these cars just, whoa, they go. Not that car, but some of them will really just whiz past you, and so do the trucks. as you'd expect on a highway. You know, you're on a highway, you're expected to keep the traffic moving. That's just a bit of a heads up for anyone that's new and thinking about driving here. I don't know, others might watch this video and have a different interpretation of the roundabout law. My comprehensive driving test when I got here to get my Paraguayan license didn't cover that in great detail, but I did ask a friend who's in the Bombero, who's like the fire brigade, and they're very up on all the laws and all the rest of it. And to my astonishment, he confirmed to me that my understanding of the roundabout is essentially correct, and that is when you enter, you've got to get in on the innermost lane, and then when you get to where you want to go, you've got to cut across. I looked at him in disbelief and asked him if that was one of the main areas of his business in attending incidents where that goes wrong, and he did confirm to me that it is something that can be the source of anguish, but at least to this point I can't see it changing. So until it does, it's just best that we are aware of it and just keep our wits about us. One of the things that I find when doing anything in Paraguay on the road is, when in doubt, slow down and just let everyone work out what they're doing. Thankfully I drive a slow car and a slow bike, which can be a blessing or a curse, but I'm definitely not going too quick most of the time to worry anyone. So if ever I see something that I'm confused about, or that I can see others are confused about, I just tend to just take the foot off the gas and let them work it out, and just try and keep safe. Whoa! He's in a hurry. And that's the thing, a white car here screaming up behind you with the sun and everything, it can be really hard to just work out what speed they're doing. If you're driving on a highway, say in the place where I came from, you know everyone's going at pretty much a certain speed. They can't be doing way too much more because there's cameras on every bloody tree and post in that country, so only the occasional lunatic car thief or politicians going at a crazy speed. But here they can be going at such variable speeds, you just can't bank on anything. So you just gotta just always be thinking that something unexpected may well happen. Keeps it interesting, I suppose. So he's just gone straight into his innermost lane. Where's he going? What's he going to do? Let's see. No traffic coming in, luckily for him, and he just cuts across. That car's doing the right thing, staying there, so I'm cutting across and going home. So, I hope that's interesting to you. No one was harmed in this experiment, but that guy's just checking his text messages on his motorbike. That's very common. They'll be checking their text messages and picking their nose, while maybe a family of 5 are enjoying the ride. Things are very relaxed when it comes to riding bikes and driving here in Paraguay. So they're who you're sharing the road with, so best to keep your eyes on the road and your eyes on whoever's coming in or out of intersections, because they might be texting the girlfriend whilst they should be perhaps looking up and realising that you're trying to share the road with them. The joys of Paraguay. Check this guy out on his ladder. No need for witch hats or anything like that. Hopefully everyone will go around him. No one's going to call Osh. Oh my goodness, in the places I've come from, it'd be a jailable offence. And so we return back to the hacienda, safe and ready to fight another day. Until next time, take care. Ciao.